Good afternoon. Welcome to the first Waddell Associates Wednesday webinar. Our topic today is charitable gift planning in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Presenting today are myself, Carol Lee Royer with Waddell Associates. I've been a proud Memphian since 1974 when I arrived as a freshman at Rhodes College from my hometown of Nashville. And I joined Waddell Associates in March of 2017 as a wealth advisor. My focus is on individuals working to improve their lives by providing clarity through financial planning. Caroline Kubler has been a Memphian since 2004. She was originally from California, and she joined the Community Foundation of Greater Memphis in March of 2017. And like me, she works primarily with individuals to help them with their charitable gift planning. So a few housekeeping items. First of all, as we go through this presentation, you'll see our pictures. So feel free to use your cursor or mouse to move us around, and that might be kind of fun. Secondly, you also will see a button, a Q&A button. And if you have questions during the presentation, just type those in and we will read them and answer as many as we can after the presentation. And then finally, this presentation is for educational purposes only. All of you have your own unique circumstances, so be sure to consult with your professional advisor before implementing any of these ideas that we discuss. With that, Caroline and I are so proud to be part of this community. It is a giving community. Memphis is very generous, and the Community Foundation of Greater Memphis, the grant makers that are part of them, are very, very generous. I think you'll be very impressed and actually surprised at the numbers behind this generosity, which Caroline is going to talk about now.
Thank you, Carol Lee. Yes. So in 2004, Memphis was considered the second most generous city, only behind Salt Lake. In 2017, the most recent numbers show that we were the most giving city and most generous in the United States. And these are the most recent numbers, so we can still claim to be the most generous city. Now, y'all may wonder, where does that put us in terms of the Community Foundation, specifically in terms of grants out within the MidSouth and the Memphis area? So as you'll see, the Community Foundation of Greater Memphis is significantly the largest grant maker, but we're in wonderful company with the Hyde Foundation, the Assisi Foundation, and we're going to turn next and show you some information on how we compare in the South more broadly. So you'll see here, these are the largest grant makers in the South. We're third and only behind the Foundation for the Carolinas, which is the Community Foundation in Charlotte, and our Arkansas neighbors, the Walton Family Foundation. The next slide I'm going to show you is how we compare. And again, this is just a representation of the generosity of Memphians more broadly. We're in the top 10. It's fantastic. So you'll see Community Foundation of Greater Memphis listed, along with a number of other community foundations across the country. And again, these are grants out. So our donors are making significant gifts to organizations locally and in other places across the country as well.
Wow, that is fantastic. And also, Waddell Associates clients are very generous. Sharon Tyson, who's our Director of Client Services, helps our clients with these gifts and has been keeping track of them for several years. In 2019, Waddell Associates clients gave transferred over $1.8 million worth of total gifts from their client accounts to charitable organizations. Over $500,000 of those were via qualified charitable distributions from IRAs. And the rest, $1.25 million, were gifts of appreciated securities. And of those gifts of appreciated securities, almost $1 million were donated to donor advised funds like those at the Community Foundation of Greater Memphis. So why we wanted to talk about this topic now is that nonprofit organizations are stressed right now. Just like businesses are stressed, just like individuals are stressed. Certain nonprofit services are needed just more than ever, whether they be healthcare or food related. Other nonprofit services are greatly curtailed, and that's mostly, I think, in the arts world, as arts organizations, as well as education organizations and so forth. Donors, of course, are also financially stressed, but many still want to assist because that's just the way it is in Memphis. We assist our nonprofits. So the CARES Act was passed about a month ago on March 27th to help address some of the stress that some of the provisions can help address some of these nonprofits that are going through these issues right now of funds. So let's look at some of the provisions of the CARES Act that can help. First of all, for donors who do not itemize deductions, the CARES Act adds an above-the-line deduction of $300 per individual taxpayer. This is only for cash contributions actually gifted in the current tax year. Effective date of this provision, according to the Act, is tax years beginning 2020. So there's an implication that this may carry forward to future years, though we'll find out more as we learn more about this provision. Non-cash gifts are excluded. Only cash can be done here. Public charities only, so that excludes donor advised funds. But note that the reason that this provision is important is that the majority of taxpayers do not itemize anymore, particularly after the passage of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of December 2017, which substantially increased the standard deduction. So, for example, a married couple, both over 65, would have to have itemized deductions exceeding $27,400 this year in 2020 in order for it to be worthwhile to itemize. So this really helps among the majority of taxpayers that do not itemize. The second major provision that addresses nonprofit gifts is for donors who will itemize in 2020. And this allows a temporary suspension of adjusted gross income limitations for cash gifts. Before this was implemented, you could only give cash up to 60% of your adjusted gross income. Well, that's gone. It's 100%, and in fact, more than 100%. Whatever you want to give, again, in cash only, in 2020, non-cash gifts are excluded, only to public charities, and the taxpayer actually must elect to suspend this old AGI limitation when they file their 2020 tax return. These contributions, if they exceed your AGI, can be carried forward to 2021. This is obviously a very generous donor that would consider being able for this to apply. There are some planning possibilities, however, for those donors that are fortunate enough to have a good amount of cash that they would like to gift. Perhaps they have an IRA and would like to do a Roth conversion to increase their AGI, knowing that it would be offset with these itemized deductions of their cash gifts. So there's some planning opportunities to pursue among those who where this would apply. The other set of donors that the CARES Act provides for businesses and corporations what's going on there is temporary increases of limitations that those organizations have had for cash gifts, the percentage of their taxable income or profit. So those have been lifted from 10 to 25%. And then interestingly, business and corporations like groceries, restaurants, farmers often give food inventory, perishable food inventory to food banks, et cetera. And those limitations on contributions have also been increased from 15% to 25%. So so that covers the major provisions that affect nonprofit giving from the CARES Act. But there also are, of course, existing tax advantage charitable giving strategies that are still in place and that we've been encouraging our clients to take advantage of for years. For example, the qualified charitable distribution. This is available to any IRA owner over the age of 70 and a half. It allows them to distribute up to $100,000 per person from their IRA directly to a charity or multiple charities. And those distributions from those IRAs directly to charities are tax-free distributions. And this is the only way to actually implement a tax-free distribution from your IRA with a QCD. So keep in mind that when you distribute a qualified charitable distribution, this is not an itemized deduction because the tax favorability is the tax-free treatment of the distribution of itself. So there's no itemized deduction. So using a combination of the above the line deduction that we discussed earlier and perhaps qualified charitable distributions would, of course, allow a person who does not itemize deductions to make substantial gifts from the resources they have to charities. Another type of tax advantage charitable giving strategy that we have been helping our clients do for years and years is the gift of an appreciated security. This allows a donor who is fortunate enough to own a stock, for example, that is appreciated over many years, has long-term unrealized capital gains. They can give the shares of that stock, realize a tax deduction for the full market value of those shares without selling and recognizing a capital gain. The charity or nonprofit that receives those shares is able to sell those shares without paying any capital gains tax whatsoever, and then of course use the proceeds for the charity. And these types of gifts, of course, can be given to charities directly, as well as they're very much a popular way to fund a donor-advised fund, such as those at the Community Foundation of Greater Memphis. And Caroline's going to tell us more about the planning advantages of donor-advised funds.
Thank you, Carly. Yes. So we are also a 501c3 and can absolutely take gifts of stock. It's a wonderful way, an efficient way to give. What you may not know is community foundations are also set up well to take unusual gifts, which could be a real estate gift. It could be an art collection that a lot of other organizations just aren't capable of doing. So we're happy to be of help in that way. The way, kind of the flow of donor advised fund is the gift is given, and then the dollars from that gift are invested and grow, making it possible to be even more generous. And then the final part of the process is the donors advise grants, meaning work through us to give grants to the organizations of their choice. I think what's also important to know about the value of a local community foundation is We encourage strategic giving, which means getting involved, really understanding what's happening in a community, asking questions. We host events soon. There'll be new events. And there are a variety of opportunities and ways for donors to get involved, talk to each other. Another area of focus for us is in working with families to help engage in conversations around legacy, around what do we care about. Once we have donors that are more aware of where they'd like their money to go and what they'd like to see happen, that just makes for that much more strategic giving. We also work with donors to dig in and ask questions that they may not ask themselves, meaning, what does legacy mean to me? What does impact mean? Who have been my philanthropic mentors? Really just help get questions, get some conversation and dialogue going to make wise giving decisions. So I think that most of the donors we do find get engaged, enjoy that opportunity to talk to each other, to their peers, and to their family. So speaking of getting engaged, I also want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing right now in this COVID crisis. For those of y'all that don't know, on March 17th, we launched the MidSouth COVID-19 Regional Response Fund. And the goal, as Carol Lee mentioned earlier, there's such an urgent need right now. We had people, community members, asking, what do I do? How do I help? So this fund was set up, and it's similar to funds set up in a variety of community foundations across the country, and is a way that community foundations can help direct money where it's needed. So in partnership with the city, county government, United Way, Momentum, and the MidSouth Philanthropy Network, we're meeting weekly and talking about where the needs are at that time, and sending out grants. As y'all will see on the screen, we're happy to report that to date, and again, the fund only opened March 17th, we've granted out $1.5 million to 70 nonprofits. So thank you to Memphis for doing what we do best in giving to those who need it.
Wonderful. So donors need a plan during this COVID-19 crisis. We encourage you to prioritize and write down the organizations, the nonprofit organizations which you want to support, about which you are passionate, and write down an amount that you would like or would meet your budget for 2020 gifts. One way to help, after you have that list and have prioritized your giving, consider a down payment now with the balance to that organization later in the year. There are many groups and churches, for example, where because there's not a concert or a congregation in session, maybe giving has gone down, and these organizations perhaps need your dollars a little bit sooner than later, especially if you've been used to giving toward the end of the year. If you have, and many of our clients, if you have existing donor advised funds built up in the community foundation from previous years, now is the time to grant. This is when the funds are needed. So grant generously, as we see from the numbers. The grant makers at Community Foundation of Greater Memphis are already doing so, and I think they will probably do more so this year. Keep in mind that everyone's situation is very unique, and as you've seen, there's many IRS rules to consider when you're trying to meet, obviously, number one, your charitable giving goals, and number two, how to implement those goals in the most tax efficient way possible. So keep in mind that we at Waddell Associates and the Community Foundation of Greater Memphis can really advise you personally in fulfilling these charitable giving goals and understanding these strategies. So at Waddell Associates, we have a good team to implement these charitable gifts for our clients. I am one of 7 advisors who work with individual clients and can certainly help advise you on these strategies. And then Sharon Tyson is our Director of Client Services, who works with all of our clients to make these gifts actually happen with the paperwork, et cetera. And of course, you've already seen, she tallies them up and keeps a record of them. And then, of course, Caroline works with individuals at Community Foundation of Greater Memphis to help individuals think through this legacy planning, this long-term strategic charitable gift planning that they do so well. So, so let's see. That's the major portion of the content. I do want to make you all aware that this is the first of several Wednesday webinars that will occur. There will be one next week on estate planning. And I would like to see if there are any questions out there, and we'll just talk through those. Let's see, where do I find the questions? Aha, let's see. Okay. So I do have one question. Will this full presentation be available on our website? It's good information. Thank you very much. Yes, the answer to that is really on our next slide here. Hopefully you will see that. If you receive the Waddell and Associates weekly strategic insight email, you will receive a link to the recording of this. If you do not receive it just yet, you can opt in by texting the words "giving back" to 44222 as if it were a phone number. So you put in the phone number 44222, text "giving back." You'll get a response asking for your email. And when you do that, then you'll start receiving our monthly email, our newsletters, etc., which will include a link to the replay of this video. You'll also receive some other COVID-19 updates as well. So yes, this will be on the website, and we encourage you to opt in to get those emails with the links. Second question, do nonprofits qualify for the Paycheck Protection Program? Yes, they do, and it's very important that they talk with their advisor. Certainly, any nonprofit that is interested in doing so, please call any of us at Waddell Associates. We are very familiar with the process and can help you answer your questions as to how to coordinate the bankers and the information to successfully, hopefully, apply for those loans. Let's see, another question. Let's see. It seems that nonprofits are in distress. Donors or Paycheck Protection Program path to survival. You may have already covered. I was possibly, am I too late for that? One thing that is a concern about the Paycheck Protection Program is we ran out of funds already, and there was a lag. Congress had to pass more funds, and now we're in the process of those funds being opened up again. So if you are a nonprofit and need to seek that kind of help, do get in touch with us very, very quickly. Okay? All right then. I think those are most of the questions that I see so far. If anyone shares or types in other questions, we will definitely get back with you on those. Again, thank you for attending, and look for our next Wednesday webinar invitation next week. Thank you so much, Caroline, for being our guest. We really appreciate everything that the Community Foundation of Greater Memphis does for our community. And thank you for sharing the generosity of Memphis, which is so important right now. And
Thank you. Yes.
I guess with that, we will say goodbye. Caroline, do you have any words that you would like to say?
No, I think you said it. Memphis is a generous and wonderful place. And thank you for sharing the information and encouraging people to give.
Okay, and with that, we enjoyed our presentation and look forward to hearing from you all soon. Bye-bye.